Okay, so first example would be what we call the high flow. This has happened multiple times with me, I'm sure with plenty others, and it's easy to fix, but it's super easy to miss. So here we have our typical high flow. We put some water in it, got the cannula right here. Super simple setup, right? All we're doing is threading this on to the to the flow meter, just like you would anything else. Like that is no different, right? As your normal bubbler or a tree, right? For that matter. But we do put water in here for this to bubble, right? So it's not too dry for the patient. So this requires to be twisted off, put the water in, and then you gotta twist the cap back on. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It seems super simple, and it is. That's a very simple concept. But there is one glaring problem with this setup. So right now it's off. So I'm gonna turn it on. Let's say the patient needs 12, that's like 12, 13 liters right there, okay? So you're gonna walk in, and I'm initially also gonna walk in and go, okay, it's working. I don't think that is off the charts at all to think that this is a properly functioning nasal cannula. So here's our cannula, 12 to 13 liters, it's bubbling, it's working. So now if lovely Courtney would come over here, and I'm gonna use her arm for an example because this is how I figure it out. Obviously I'm not gonna take a patient's used cannula and go, that would be disgusting and weird. So I use my arm, so you can feel for flow. So, Courtney, do you feel 12 to 13 liters coming out of that nasal cannula?
Nothing.
But it's working.
Yes, it is.
So that's odd. So we clearly have a functioning cannula. The oxygen is flowing, but yet she's not feeling any flow in her arm. So before I go any further with diagnosing that, how about we just turn that down a little bit, and we'll put this on the neb block here, which this is 7 to 8 liters. That's how we give our nebulizers. Well, that one says 10 to 11. I've never seen that one before. That's interesting. So typically that's 8. For all intents and purposes, that's going to be 7 to 8. So at 10 to 11, do you feel flow?
Yes, I do.
And you can probably even hear it. You probably couldn't hear it before. So why is it flowing now, but it wasn't flowing with this? So I will show you. This happens often. So this back in. Please hold. So what happens when this gets threaded in, and when you have limited room, and it's even worse, some rooms are worse than others for room because you have your suction catheters and you have the wall. This is not threaded properly. So at first glance, that looks fine, but if you look close, you can see here it's flush with the rim here, but then up here you see a kind of a gap. So what happens is, so I don't splash myself. So when you thread these on, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, simple concept, but if that doesn't go in perfectly straight and those threads cross, it doesn't seal. And then all the oxygen in the flow is going to leak out at the top. There may be getting 1 liter, I don't know. I don't even know if anything makes it to the patient. So when you are putting this in, the trick that I like to do is I spin it to the left until you hear a click. And then that's the threads setting in the proper place, and you can see that that's even now. And now you do your right, tighten it. You can do the same thing on here if you want, but this usually goes pretty well, because if you cross thread this, it's insanely hard to put on. So now let's try that 10 to 12 again.
And it's successful.
So now it's working. So that is the basically one and only main problem I've ever seen with this. So always make sure that your threads are flush and it's threaded in properly, and I don't think I've ever seen a problem aside from that. So